What's up, buddy? What you got for me?
All right, so uh, I got a question concerning my own players. Um, give it a little context. I am currently running a campaign in a homebrew world that I've made. The campaign itself delves kind of deep into that gothic horror side of things, so kind of like Ravenloft esque, and of course, I always make sure my settings are okay with my players, and they said yes, and they said they were very excited about it.
Okay.
However, every session since we've had our session zero, one of them is constantly on the phone. One of them constantly wants to try and cheese the rules and combat me about things. And the only one that doesn't do any of that is a fellow DM who is one of my players in this game, but he tends to metagame from time to time, but he's not too bad about it, so I kind of let it slide, kind of just say, "Hey, you don't know that," and he understands usually. I've tried to get them to understand, but it doesn't seem to work. I'm kind of a passive person, so that might be part of the problem. They're all really close friends of mine, and I just really wanted to ask, how do I handle these problems with my players without being too harsh or mean?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that because I have some really good advice for you for this one in particular. It is really easy for a DM to instinctively start accusing the player that's doing something wrong. As it's really easy to assign the fault to the person doing something wrong. But what I want you to do, and the most valuable skill any dungeon master can have, I've said this a lot. The most valuable skill that you can have as a DM is empathy. I need you to think about why that player is on their phone and why that player is cheesing. And you kind of said the DM was just the other player, the DM that's metagaming. That's not too bad. But the other two, I want you to kind of think about. I need, because that's a signal. If that player is like pulling out their phone, checking Twitter or watching their favorite YouTuber, they may be just bored with what's going on in the game. Like maybe you haven't given them enough attention. So,
Okay.
do you have an answer for that? First of all, let's start there. Why? Let's start with the on the phone, because the on the phone is like the biggest signal. Is like a huge signal to you that they need some attention or that they need to be brought back into the fold. So why is player A? We're gonna call them player A. Why are they on the phone?
Well, I mean, I try to give everyone the spotlight equally, so no one feels left out, and because that's a thing that I hated as a player, is when another player got all the spotlight and the rest kind of felt like they weren't bringing enough to the table. So I try my best to kind of proc situations to where they can really shine and what their character is really good at, and make it kind of like these little triumphant moments. But I really don't know. I guess I might, and that might be part of the problem because I rush into those moments. I don't really. I try to give as much build up as possible, but I'm always kind of unconsciously scared that they're going to lose interest really quick, and so that might be part of the issue, that I'm so constantly um, focused on them losing interest that I'm not really taking care with the character interactions, and so they might feel left out anyway.
Sure. So what I want you to do is next time, I want you to be super consciously aware about what's going on the next time player A is on their phone. As soon as they pick up the phone, rather than say something to them, I just want you to immediately kind of like zoom out, get a big picture. How long? So first thing is, because I'm not, I'm obviously I haven't been at your table, so I don't know. But as soon as they pick up the phone, I need you to start thinking. Like, just stop everything and just think like, okay, let me think for a moment. How long have I been talking? who has been talking, how long have they been talking, what is currently going on, is this interesting, are they interested? Obviously they're probably not interested if they put up the phone. And then you can sort of learn from that experience. Like, okay, maybe we shouldn't have spent 30 minutes talking to the shopkeeper. All right, maybe we can push things along and get to something a little bit more interesting. Or if you thought this was interesting, maybe you could rethink that, like, oh, I thought this part would be really cool, but clearly they're not interested. That's player A specifically. So you can kind of gauge based off of that. And look, another thing I want you to be really consciously aware of is when is player A engaged? When does player A put down their phone and like their face lights up and then like they're super engaged with the game? Like, oh yeah, it's my turn. I can't wait to cast this spell and dominate this slot or something, something crazy. When are they engaged? So that's player A. So that's a really easy one. So just be consciously aware of what you're doing to cause that to happen. Rather than focusing on what they're doing that you don't like, I need you to focus on what environment you're creating to let that happen. Because that's really the only thing you can control is what you do.
Right.
Cheesy player, tell me about cheesy player.
Well, the last game that I ran, they played a rogue, and they would always try to do the whole like thing where they try to stealth mid-combat just behind like a barrel or something, and I would constantly say, well, they still know you're there. You're not really stealth. Unless if you could somehow turn invisible while going behind that barrel, you're not stealth. I'm sorry. And they're like, but I got 3/4 covered, don't I? I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with it. They can still see you. And they're still aware of your position. So, and in this one, they're playing a Echo Knight fighter, and they're trying to get flank rules off of their Echo, which I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with unless except that it was already stated in the subclass, basically that, and by Matthew Mercer himself, that the Echo is not a creature, so you can't gain flank. But they try to do it anyways, and sometimes roll with advantage without me telling them. And they just try to like cheese the game a little bit, and it kind of takes some of the fun out of it for me, because I'll put them in these like, dangerous situations, and they're kind of just taking light of it, like, oh, I'm invincible, I'm level 5, so I'm invincible, and I don't know what to do there. This has been a constant problem over the last couple games. Like I said, they're all good people. I love them. We've been friends for years now. It's just that's a characteristic that they tend to lean towards, so I don't know how to really deal with that.
All right, pause. Let me address some of those things. So, first off, the players feel invincible. Give them more challenging encounters. As long as they're having fun and they like the idea of feeling super powerful, you're fine. You really don't need to shut them down. Just let them feel that way. But if you ever want to just give them a stronger encounter. The level 5. What'll mess up a level 5 party but still be doable? Beholder's like no joke, but that may be a little bit much. But yeah, there's plenty of monsters that'll just like completely squash them, and they know it. Like, you put a beholder in there, they're gonna be like, okay, maybe this wasn't the best idea, or they will engage and then get completely destroyed. But that's not necessarily a good thing. Like, you want them to feel awesome. That's the whole point of the game, is to just like,
right,
be cool, be awesome. So gauge that how you will. Echo Knight. So you said that you don't have a problem with the Echo giving advantage, and yes, I have also dealt with Echo Knights that want to use their Echo with advantage, and it's a shame that they can't give themselves flanking with it, but it does specifically say that that they can't. But it is your table, and and the first thing you said was you wouldn't necessarily have a problem with it. So if the player wants it and you wouldn't have a problem with it, go for it. It's just advantage after all. I don't like that you say it and then they just kind of ignore you like, oh, I'm going to do it anyway. You kind of want to like stay on top of that. Like, dude, I don't know how many times I got to tell you this thing doesn't give advantage. But that's up to you. You said you didn't have a problem with it. Consider changing it. But at the same time, like, hey, dude, come on now.
Right.
And finally, the rogue going in stealth and combat. So you know what this rogue wants. I'm assuming the reason that they go in stealth and combat is to avoid getting hit and to also get their sneak attack. You know,
Right.
whatever their reason, give them opportunities to stealth and combat. There are ways to stealth and combat. I would suggest to you to just look up those rules. There's a whole podcast with Jeremy Crawford talking about stealthing and combat specifically. But you know what this player wants. You know that they want to go find something to hide behind in stealth. So every single battle map that you've got, or every encounter that you have inside, give them stuff behind to hide behind. As a matter of fact, you can even tell them like, "Hey, just roll initiative." Rogue, you scan the battlefield and you notice X, Y, and Z are potential hiding spots. And if you tell them specifically that and that nowhere else, that's kind of your way of saying this is me meeting you halfway. Now you know where you can go to hide. Nowhere else is going to be okay, kind of thing. Like that's kind of your way to show them like, hey, I'm listening. I know what you want. Here we go. I set this up just for you, kind of thing. So consider that. I think I hit everything. What else you got? Anything else for me?
I think
or anything you want me to elaborate on?
I think that about covers it. You you did pretty well on explaining to me, kind of getting through my thick head of what I need to consider.
Good stuff. I hope it helps. You have a good night.
You as well.